Hello friends, this is Nemo. I created this channel because I was at a point in my life where I was having an existential crisis. Over the past 2 years, I noticed that our society's been racked by social change and strife that filtered a bit into my life. The change being social justice. Social justice turned a bunch of people I knew into narcissistic ideologues, myself included. Then I had my life shatter around me through a bunch of unrelated personal events that made me pause and question everything that I believed. And I discovered that a large amount of it was horse shit and fit to fertilize a field only. What made me realize this? Philosophy. I found myself cracking open my old books from school and being drawn to men like Plato and Epictetus once again. Before, I never digested their words other than to write essays or answer homework questions assigned to me by the professor that was leading the course. But now, being 31 years old and rereading it, I understand what they were saying. I was going to deliver a heavy-handed sermon against social justice. However, my thesis pales in comparison to what these wise men wrote in ancient times against the ideologues of their era, and I have analyzed each of their statements. So shall we begin? I will read you their words now. A system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is a mere illusion, a thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing sound in it and nothing true. Socrates. I agree with Socrates in this quote. The hysteria over gender, cultural appropriation, and reverse racism is based on emotion, not fact. This is one group trying to get revenge on another group for perceived slights or slights done to them by individuals, not an entire group. Any morality based on emotion, such as revenge, will lead to tyranny and oppression. And history records that such events have taken place before, namely the Holocaust, which was Hitler brainwashing the German people that the Jews were oppressing them, and therefore the Nazis tried to wipe out the Jewish people, as an example. Republics decline into democracies, and democracies degenerate into despotism. Aristotle. We are seeing democracy degenerate around us into despotism by the left, namely Antifa and the whole left of the political spectrum. They have abandoned reason and open discussion in exchange for violence. Namely, the actions Antifa has taken at several protests where people were attacked by them, either struck in the head with bicycle locks by a certain character named Eric Clanton, or they totally beat the shit out of people just for having a different opinion than them. And to those who are still acting out after Hillary lost the election, your candidate lost an illegal election. She chose to cede the election to Donald Trump. Acting violent won't change it. There is a name for those who want to change things by brute force. That name is tyrant. The worst form of inequality is to try to make unequal things equal. Aristotle. Inequality is a very broad term with different meanings to different people. When the conservatives and libertarians speak about equality, They usually mean equality of rights, of treatment under the law, which I personally believe in. In the contrast, when progressives and liberals talk about equality, they mean everyone should be given equal medical care. Men and women should be paid the same amount. Both of these approaches are right. However, the most important thing being that it only makes sense to treat things as equal if they are actually equal, a condition that is rarely met in this real world, unfortunately. When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you shall forget your anger. Epictetus. My dear social justice warriors, this quote by Epictetus is aimed at people like yourselves. By your own actions like doxing, shutting down debate and conversation, along with acts of violence, you have become the fascists. If you want change, then dialogue is the root and not violence. For you shall be met, I think, in the near future with a crackdown into martial law if these events continue. This and only this will be my foray into the social justice lexicon. The whole thing, in my opinion, is akin to an out-of-control dumpster fire. A dumpster fire that, if it keeps on going, will end in violence and martial law. In closing, my friends, I will say this. We are all wicked men, and therefore should learn to tolerate each other. Thank you for your time and understanding.